Hello there, it's James here, MSc Sport and Exercise Psych. I just thought I'd do another brief video continuing on the theme of my previous post on the channel regarding some of my applied work, working with junior athletes in building confidence. I reflected last time on what I found quite surprising initially was the almost inability for the young junior athletes to focus on positive aspects of their sport or their performance or their technique outside of, and the caveat to that is outcomes, very outcome focused, so they could recall quite easily where they've won things. But apart from that, they found it quite difficult to come up with positive things and tended to focus on the negative. So that was an interesting insight into confidence. And I mean, I'm very much focused as an applied sports psych in that context in thinking about ways psychologically to build confidence, or to nudge people or open the door to possibilities for people or athletes to increase their confidence in their sport, in their game, in their performance, their technique, and all the aspects around sport. So I sort of started engaging and continue to engage in this program of work, and there's a number of ways in which one might boost confidence for some athletes, and one way is via role models. Arguably, potentially not a technique or a strategy for everybody, and I'll explain why that's the case in a minute. But there is certainly lots of evidence, actually from more like social psychology, from quite some years ago, Bandura and social learning, that we learn from our role models, often our parents, but in a sporting context we can learn from other athletes in our teams, in our squads, in our crews, but also beyond that, in our sort of our viewing of sport. Our sporting heroes, if you like, can be our role models, not so much in this context teaching us things about how we can play, although I guess they can do that, but experiencing through them success, and therefore boosting one's confidence via the success of those role models. So what I did with a group of young athletes is ask them what role models did they have. And it will not surprise you, maybe, considering the theme of last week, that actually quite a lot of them struggled to come up with specific role models. Some did, some were very clear, and some were maybe quite surprising. Others were in their sport, in their field, considered great in their field. And the question I was asking them is, okay, well, how can you use your role model? What does your role model give you that can boost your confidence? And looking into the literature, there are some clear things that seem to be important in that sort of vicarious experience, or sort of proxy experience of success and failure potentially, and how that affects your own confidence, particularly if the role model can be as similar to you as possible, in the sense that it's the same sport, maybe they came from the same area, the same club, they've entered the sport in the same way. It could be any number of things, but the more you as an athlete can identify with the role model, then the stronger that connection will be, and the more, therefore, the success your role model has will be more likely to have a positive effect on your confidence. That's what has been suggested. There isn't, I have to say, overwhelming amounts of evidence to support that, but it does make some sense, and there is quite a lot of evidence, not so much from a sports context, but more from a social learning theory sort of perspective, that happens. You gain perspective and insight into yourself and how you are similar to this person, and this person experiences success, and off you go. So what was surprising, as I said, was the lack of role models, or the very generic role models. And what I posited to these particular athletes is to try and think about people they are similar to, who they admire, who they follow, and how that might affect their confidence. I don't think role models personally is a massive part of confidence. I think there are other things that are more important in terms of building confidence or having issues with confidence, many of them internal psychological factors or states or variables. However, role models is maybe an interesting little add-on in the umbrella picture that is confidence, and could be quite useful for some athletes, for some players, and is really what you're bringing as an applied sport type is an arsenal of things in order to try and overall globally improve confidence via various routes. I thought that was quite interesting. So I will continue to update you on the progress of that in terms of role models. There are other areas I'm working on with these athletes about confidence. But it was an interesting session. I thought to reflect on the path or the use of role models in this kind of context and whether it really is that useful or not. Time will tell with these particular athletes I'm working with, but it's an interesting and a relatively simple intervention to try to boost confidence. Cheers.